The regular show finale ends the way that you'd expect a show like this to end. Big cosmic battle, real emotional stakes, Pops sacrificing himself to save the universe. David Bowie starts playing, and then we get a quiet little epilogue montage showing us where everyone ends up. It's real sweet. Benson becomes the owner of the park. Skips keeps on skipping. Muscleman and Starla have kids. Rigby and Eileen continue on their path. And Mordecai, the one the show spent 6 seasons putting through every romantic disaster imaginable, meets a Batwoman at an art gallery, marries her, and has 3 kids. The show just moves on. She was barely even given a name. She doesn't have a single line of dialogue in the entire show, which completely baffled me. I remember watching that for the first time and thinking, wait, that's it? What happened to Margaret? What happened to CJ? He just meets some other random woman and suddenly everything's fine? Until I realized, yeah, that's literally the whole point. Mordecai had to learn a specific insight to get here, but where is here? And what exactly happened? I'm gonna explore that, so why don't you join me? Starting at the point where it all began, Margaret. Mordecai was in love with Margaret since the moment he met her. She worked at a coffee shop across from the park. She's warm, funny, a little out of his league in his head, and she always has a boyfriend. Every time Mordecai gets close to saying something, there's a new guy in the picture. And every time there isn't, Mordecai finds a brand new reason to say nothing. He goes to that coffee shop constantly, drinks coffee he doesn't care about, drags Rigby into situations they don't need to be in, just to be near her. And none of it is conscious per se. He's not like running a strategy or anything. He's just permanently parked in the safest possible position, close enough to feel something, far enough away that nothing can go wrong. For 3 seasons, this is who Mordecai is. It's so bad that his friends even give it a name, pulling a Mordecai. It means freezing up when it matters, overthinking yourself into paralysis, getting so caught up in how something could go wrong that you never give it a chance for it to go right. Now, if you asked Mordecai what his problem with relationships was, he'd probably say something like, oh, it's just bad timing, or wrong moment. Things just didn't work out, right? And he'd be telling the truth as he understands it, but the show is telling us something different the whole time. Mordecai has one wound, which we'll get to shortly, so first we'll see how the show hands us an episode that basically explains the entire problem in just 11 minutes. It's Bad Kiss from Season 3. Mordecai and Margaret go on a double date. It goes pretty well, and at the end of the night, they kiss, something that he's been building toward for years. And then Margaret pulls away because he has terrible breath. It's awkward, a little embarrassing, completely survivable, and Mordecai's response is to find a time machine and erase the kiss entirely. Not the breath or the awkwardness, or to just apologize and just say, oops. He wants to erase the entire kiss from existence. So he goes back in time and undoes the best thing that happens to him romantically in 3 years because he couldn't sit with 5 minutes of embarrassment. By Season 4, the excuses have run out. Margaret is single, his friends are watching him, the moment is there, and in meteor moves, the show gets so literal about his problem that it creates a physical location for it, the friend zone dimension, a place that Mordecai's own indecision manifests into existence. And while he's standing inside it, he finally says it out loud.
It's just, I've liked Margaret for so long. What if she's not into me?
That's the whole of the first 3 seasons in one sentence. And then he breaks out, confesses, and they kiss. And for a moment it feels like everything the show has been building toward has finally arrived. It looks real this time. Then comes a single episode late in Season 4. Mordecai takes Margaret to a nice restaurant, and after everything, the time travel, the friend zone, the almost kisses, he finally asks her to be his girlfriend. The moment is perfect, and his luck has run out. Margaret got into her dream school. She's leaving. She runs out of the restaurant crying because she actually liked him too, and the timing is it's just wrong. It's too late. The last image of the season is Mordecai sitting on the roof of the house at sunset while Rigby sits quietly next to him. No time traveling this time, just a guy who waited too long sitting with what cost him. To make matters worse, Margaret liked him the whole time. The obstacle was never her. There was no obstacle really, just Mordecai himself standing in his own way for 4 years, or seasons, until the window closed. With Margaret leaving, he loses the fantasy that he'd spent 4 seasons building around her, the version that existed at a safe distance, that he could love without risking anything. And when real Margaret finally showed up with real feelings and a real goodbye, you didn't know what to do with any of it. When you're stuck inside of that place, these two things can feel identical, the person and the idea of the person. And that's what makes it so hard to explain to someone who's never been there. The problem is, Mordecai never even really sits with that. He never lets this loss teach him anything before the next thing arrives. Because almost immediately after Margaret leaves, Rigby hears a rumor that she's engaged. And grief cracks Mordecai open in a way that 4 seasons of pining somehow never did. And in that raw, unguarded state, Rigby signs him up for a dating site, and after a string of terrible dates, he meets CJ. A cloud woman. She's sharp, she's funny, she's completely unimpressed by him in the best possible way, and they have genuine chemistry from the jump. So he asks her to the movies. And then Mordecai finds out that Margaret isn't actually engaged. It was a misunderstanding. So without a second thought, he drops everything with CJ to go ask Margaret to a movie as well, and accidentally double books them both. CJ shows up, realizes what happens, turns into a literal storm cloud, and disappears from the show for a little bit. The show is already telling you how this ends. Mordecai just isn't listening. When CJ comes back, they kind of find their way back to each other slowly. They reconnect at a New Year's masquerade party, behind masks, not knowing who the other person is, and it's the most natural conversation Mordecai has had with anyone he's ever liked. And then they take the masks off. And somehow, knowing it's CJ, he doesn't run. They agree to be friends first, and for once, Mordecai actually respects the pace of something. The relationship builds honestly through real dates, and by the season 5 finale, we get the clearest picture of who Mordecai could be when he's actually present. There's a charm bracelet. He takes a bazooka blast meant for CJ, and when the charms melt together in the explosion, he gives her the fused heart as a gift. It's a super romantic moment, and it's the most emotionally coherent Mordecai has ever been, and it's good for him. And then Margaret comes back. She's finishing her degree by working at the news station. She moves in with Eileen, and suddenly she's not just a memory anymore. She's at the same parties, in the same rooms, and Mordecai, to his credit, tells himself that he's fine, probably even believes it. And then Merry Christmas, Mordecai is where this all falls apart. At Eileen's Christmas party, CJ pulls Mordecai aside and asks him directly if he still has feelings for him. He says no, and she kisses him.
That's all I needed to know.
And then, maybe 10 minutes later, he ends up alone with Margaret. They start talking, reminiscing, a nostalgic warmth settles over the moment, and then they're kissing. Out of reflex, years of feeling something with nowhere to put it, and his guard was down, and there it was. CJ sees it, she literally storms off and drives away. And what follows is Mordecai trying to fix something that isn't really fixable through fixing. He apologizes, he does grand gestures, he tells CJ the truth about how much the Margaret breakup hurt him. And CJ, who is genuinely a better person than this situation deserves, forgives him. They get back together again. But the problem was never this kiss. The problem is that Mordecai is in a relationship with CJ while still in his mind emotionally living in the past. And you can apologize your way out of a single mistake, but you can't apologize your way out of a mind state, out of a pattern. Every crisis in Season 6 is just that same thing wearing a different outfit. The miscommunication at the helicopter party, the double date that explodes when Margaret admits that she still has feelings for him as well. Every time, Mordecai defaults to avoidance. Every time he chooses the version of events that requires the least honesty in that moment. And every time, CJ absorbs the damage. It ends at Muscle Man's wedding. Mordecai, paralyzed by everything that's been building all season, and in a bad moment, gets up and delivers a rambling speech about not knowing who his soulmate is, in the middle of someone else's wedding. Before he could even get to the point, as it looked like he was about to declare CJ as his soulmate, it's too late. CJ already jumps to a different conclusion, takes off the charm bracelet, and walks out. She never speaks to him again. And Rigby, who, mind you, has been quietly and successfully dating Eileen for 3 months without a single episode of drama, looks at him and says,
"When I said go with your gut, did you hear completely lose your mind and try to dump your girlfriend at a wedding?"
The show is asking a quiet, uncomfortable question by the end of Season 6. What if the problem was never that Mordecai wasn't ready for love? What if he just kept choosing the drama over the intimacy? What if all the pining and the almosts and the chaos became a way of feeling something without ever having to be truly known by anyone? Mordecai ends up in Dumptown, USA, a mysterious island where heartbroken men live in bathrobes, eat junk food, and just give up. He's been there 2 weeks without realizing it. He's lost the version of himself that was always just almost in love with someone. That was his whole identity, and without it, he doesn't know who he is anymore. Rigby has to fake a breakup with Eileen just to get into Dumptown and drag him out. And eventually, Mordecai and Margaret end up alone together one more time. A restaurant, a magical chef, onion steam that shows them a version of their potential future, marriage, a houseboat, kids, 50 happy years, dying peacefully side by side. It's genuinely beautiful. And they walk away from it.
Margaret, you're really cool, and our future looks like it could be cool too, but after seeing all that, I'm sure of what I want now. I think it would be best if we were just friends.
That is the scene the whole series was building toward, not Mordecai finally getting the girl after spending 6 seasons being a simp. Mordecai finally chooses reality over the story that he's been telling himself. He lets go because he finally understands his problem. It was holding on to something that he shouldn't have been holding on to. After that revelation, Mordecai just stops. He quits the park. He picks up painting again, something that he'd walked away from years earlier when he dropped out of art school, before the show even started, before Margaret, before CJ, before any of it. He just goes and makes something, just because it's the thing he actually wants to do. And the show skips all of it. The healing, the growth, the figuring himself out part. We don't see any of that, because sometimes that's private, it's individualistic. That's not really the point. Our individual journeys are never going to look like Mordecai's, but really, this, ladies and gentlemen, is the point of the show. It's just life. It's just a guy quietly becoming someone, and sometimes that is not the dramatic part. That is not what we want to focus on. It's the background stuff, the stuff that happens quietly on our own time and takes an indefinite amount of time. The next moment we see Mordecai, it's the 25-year reunion. He's successful. He's at an art gallery signing prints of his work, and across the room, a Batwoman is signing her own work at another table. They accidentally bump into each other, and that's it. Just 2 people in a room who both built something worth being proud of and who noticed each other. And then the montage tells you the rest. They get married, they have 3 kids, and at the reunion, they're sitting with the whole group, settled and warm and genuinely content. This woman has no lines. The writer didn't even give her a name during production. A fan literally had to ask the head writer after the finale, and he basically said, sure, let's just call her Steph. She exists in maybe 30 seconds of screen time across the entire series. This kinda looks a bit lazy at first, like the show didn't know how to close Mordecai's arc, so it just gestured at a happy ending and rolled credits. But I do think that that is actually the most honest thing the show could have done. Because Steph wasn't the point. Sorry, Steph. The point is that Mordecai, who spent 6 seasons unable to say what he felt, unable to release what he'd lost, unable to be present in any relationship because part of him was always somewhere else, that guy, however it happened, grew into someone who could meet a person in an art gallery and just be there, in that moment, with the actual person in front of him, and develop a long-term, lasting, loving relationship. He had learned from his mistakes and was able to move on. And the lessons that we needed to learn, the lessons in the show, they came from the dramatic moments, not even the healing or the time it took on his own, because a lot of that just happened inside his head and from random moments on the street. Mordecai, during the show, was never ready for Margaret or CJ, and that was the point. That was the journey we needed to see. He wasn't yet someone who could hold a relationship without either clinging to it or drifting out of it or having some other avoidance issue. He couldn't find someone like Steph while he was still trying to get back to Margaret. He couldn't find her while he was still trying to prove himself worthy of CJ. He found her when he stopped measuring himself by whether someone loved him and started building something worth loving instead. And again, sometimes that just takes a while and it's not the most fun to watch. That's why Steph has no lines. That's why she barely even has a name. By the time Mordecai meets her, the drama is finished. The time has passed, he's become a different person. What's left is just a life. And a normal life, a regular one some could say, doesn't need a narrator. So, what does Mordecai's love life actually teach us? We're not giving you the comfortable version here. We're not giving you the answer to how to actually overcome your emotions and to become that future person. That's on you. That's something that you have to learn from our lessons and from plenty of other lessons, but this isn't about be patient, your person is out there. That's a fortune cookie, right? That's not what this show or what we are saying. What we're saying and what the show is saying is that sometimes, yeah, it's harder than that, and you go through things, and it takes time. Every time Mordecai failed, which was many times, it was because he was gripping something too tightly to receive anything new. He had this idea, this vision in his head about what things were supposed to look like. With Margaret, he gripped his fear, his uncertainty so hard that he turned 4 years of mutual feelings into a closed window. With CJ, he gripped the past so hard that he couldn't be fully present in something real that was happening right in front of him. And after both of them were gone, he gripped the heartbreak itself and held on really tight. He made it his whole identity. He moved to a metaphorical island and put on a bathrobe and just stayed there. Every stage of letting go cost him something real. That is the part nobody tells you. It's not a relief when it happens. It's not this immediate thing. It just feels like loss every single time. Letting go of the fear felt like exposure and embarrassment. Letting go of Margaret felt like grief. Letting go of the CJ version of himself felt like not knowing who he was anymore and not knowing what he even wanted. Letting go of the fantasy future in Just Friends felt like choosing less, even though it was actually choosing real. But each time he released something, a part of himself, he learned a lesson. He got a little closer to himself. And the version of Mordecai who walks into that art gallery, that guy is the accumulated result of every one of those losses and all of the gains he made since then. The show is telling you that you can't find love, you can't make love, you can't fall into love, or more accurately, you can't be with your love until you've done the work of letting go, of the person you've lost, of the self you've lost, of the story you built around this person, of the version of yourself that needed that story in the first place. The person who finally receives love isn't the one who even wanted it the most necessarily. It's the one who stopped needing it to complete them, and then went through another journey, became a complete person first, and loved with their full heart. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Sorry about the bit of the sore throat this time. Something's going around and it's not just love, am I right? But wherever you are in this process, wherever you are in your own life, in the process of finding love, you're not broken, you're not wrong. You have things to fix, everyone does, and it's part of that journey. You're just not finished it yet. There is no finishing, right? There's no end to the journey. It's just an ongoing process of self-development, of loving, of being loved. And sometimes it takes time, and sometimes it's there when you least expect it. And if you want to get going on your journey with a little bit more guidance, click here to watch a video that will surely help. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace, guys.